Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Sophie Erber. Despite the president's message denouncing the insurrection on Capitol Hill, momentum is building tonight when it comes to Democratic lawmakers wanting President Trump removed from office. But the president only has 12 days left in office. KCAU 9's Rashad Hudson has the latest from D.C. now in our top story at 5.
Ohio Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown calls Wednesday's attack by President Trump's supporters a dark day for the country.
They attacked our seat of government. They were incited to do that by the President of the United States.
And for that, Brown wants President Trump removed from office.
I'm joining a number of other leaders from both parties from all over the country calling on the cabinet and the Vice President of the United States to immediately invoke the 25th Amendment and to remove him from office.
The 25th Amendment gives the vice president and a majority of the cabinet the power to remove a president from office if they determine he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Brown says the 25th Amendment is the fastest way to remove the president from office. Others are calling for the president to be impeached.
We have a president who has allowed domestic terrorism to fester.
Indiana Democratic Congressman Carson joins the long list of House members supporting impeachment. Republican Congressman Larry Bouchon didn't call for the president to be removed, but does hold him somewhat responsible for what happened.
Encouraging people to go to the Capitol, so to speak, was, I think, incited many of these people.
Lawmakers who want the president removed are up against the clock. He only has 12 days left in office. In Washington, Rashad Hudson.
And District 3 Representative Cindy Axne has joined the calls for Trump to be removed from office, either by impeachment or through the 25th Amendment that was put in place just over 50 years ago.
The 25th Amendment is an interesting one. It was a 20th century amendment, and it came in the aftermath of President Eisenhower's, he had some sort of a heart attack or something. And basically, he was out of commission for a while at Camp David. And so everyone got worried about what happens when, when the president is incapacitated, unable to exercise the duties of the office.
Now, the amendment has been used before. In fact, it's the reason Gerald Ford was able to become president of the United States, having never been elected by voters, and was used by Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush to transfer powers while undergoing medical procedures. Several political scientists across the country have signed a letter urging Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th, including some faculty at Iowa State.
We don't necessarily partake in politics, but we try to understand it. But when you see something like this happening, you really have to speak up. You really have to make your voice known. When you understand how things are supposed to be running, it's really hard to watch them do the exact opposite.
Both professors say they will be talking about these historical moments in lectures for years to come. One of them even pushed back this week's assignments and tests so his students could fully bear witness to history. And in local news here, panhandling has been a recurring issue across Siouxland. City council members currently trying to address it. That includes recently passing an ordinance that's made to keep the homeless out of the streets and off the medians. One restaurant owner says, though, he is still having issues.
Sometimes they'll come in at various times, and then sometimes they'll just sit in front of the restaurant and use our location to get people that walk by for a drink or change.
KCAU 9 News reporter Mallory Smith explains what another local business tonight is doing to help the issue, and also how one homeless man himself feels about panhandling. As positivity rates for COVID-19 start to increase again across the tri-state area, let's take a look now at COVID-19 numbers here to finish the week. Woodbury County health officials recording 50 new cases in 24 hours, as well as one additional death related to coronavirus. 38 patients are currently in hospital with COVID-19. In Nebraska, Dakota County reports 11 new positive tests today. The county has recorded 101 cases over the past 2 weeks. And in South Dakota, Yankton County reports 183 active cases. Meanwhile, there are 83 active cases currently in Clay County. Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts says COVID-19 testing is likely to increase following the holidays, and that the state has resources to ensure everyone can get a test that needs one.
Over 860,000 individuals have been tested in the state of Nebraska, which represents about 44% of the population. Test Nebraska is another great way that you can help fight the spread of the pandemic by getting tested. Test Nebraska is free. You just sign up at testnebraska.com.
And Governor Ricketts also saying that 20,000 vaccines have been delivered over the past 2 days. That makes a total now of 133,000 given to the state. He said over the next 2 to 3 weeks, vaccination will begin at long-term care facilities and that some public health districts will be starting the 75 and older category for vaccinations. Today was the final day to renew your Iowa license if it had expired during this pandemic. The governor's proclamation previously allowing drivers to use expired licenses because many DMV offices were closed. Right now, DOT offices are not accepting any walk-ins, but you can make an appointment ahead of time. DOT employees advise you to check for appointments first thing in the morning. That is when the most open up. You might be able to renew it online, but that is not a guarantee for everyone. You have 60 days after the printed expiration date to get it done before you face possible penalties. And it's time tonight for our first check on the weather. Meteorologist Marcus Beasley standing by. Marcus, not a bad way to end the week. Nothing really inclement, but kind of gray outside all day.
That's right, Sophie. Very similar to yesterday's weather. Chilly and cloudy here throughout Siouxland. Temperatures today warming up to right around 30 degrees. That's actually exactly where we should be this time of year. 28 degrees in Lamar's for your high, as well as Orange City. 29 in Wayne today. Warming up to 32 in Yankton and 27 in Storm Lake here today. So a chilly day throughout Siouxland. Overnight tonight, we will see temperatures drop down into the teens, upper teens and lower 20s throughout Siouxland. Again, those clouds will stick around, so I think our temperatures will stay a little bit warmer tonight than anticipated. It does look like a seasonal weekend, and next week looks like we will be above average. Details on all of that in the 9 on 9. Sophie?
All right, thanks, Marcus. A major Sioux City project is inching one step closer to finishing its goal tonight. This week, the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs awarded Sioux City a grant for $400,000. This is through the Iowa Great Places Grant. These funds will go directly toward helping the Chris Larson Park Development Project. That comes with a $12 million price tag. The goal of the Riverfront project is to provide Siouxland with a natural recreation area for the community to gather in.
Funding from Iowa Great Places will go toward our phase 2 of this project to support the large structures that will be built. We'll have a pavilion at Floyd location, and we'll also have a large pavilion at Virginia.
The project began in June of 2020. It is expected to be complete in the fall of 2022. As winter break comes to an end for school districts across Siouxland, many districts have turned to hybrid learning, at least for the next few weeks. KCAU 9 News reporter Marina Bach speaks with a Siouxland mother who's turning to a local organization for some help when her kids are not in the classroom.
Send a note to her mother. They wanted to stay home and learn at home. I said, no, I wouldn't be able to help you any because I wouldn't be able to.
It's an issue families across Siouxland are experiencing as school districts temporarily move to hybrid learning after winter break.
Because they do better face-to-face and with other peers more than they would one-on-one.
Jessica Slider has 3 children. When they're not sitting in a classroom, she's turning to the Boys and Girls Club of Siouxland for help.
They probably could teach him a lot better and know his answers better than I would. It's been 20 plus years since I've been in school. I wouldn't know anything.
So we have them bring their devices. I have enough staff here that they can get one-on-one help if they need it. Otherwise, once the kids are in class, we are just kind of supervising, making sure they're, online okay and participating in class.
The club is providing support during the day for more than 50 families.
Daily, I'm getting parents calling and trying to get their kids enrolled. And we're accepting at this point any new parents or any new kids that want to come to the club.
The Boys and Girls Club of Siouxland says they will continue to offer support for families and work closely with school districts as they transition from online to in-person throughout the school year.
We're hoping to keep the doors open and hoping to keep the kids coming in and still trying to make it as normal as possible for them.
In Sioux City, Marina Bach, KCAU 9 News.
The Sioux City Public Library has a new way for their patrons to connect to and utilize their free services. Thanks to a grant from the Missouri River Historical District, the library purchased 15 smarter hotspot devices that will help those who lack an internet provider. These devices are available at checkout and upon request. If you'd like, you could find the full story on our website right now. That's SiouxlandProud.com or the KCAU 9 News app. Contracting COVID-19 can, of course, change people, generally affecting their health for many months. How a South Dakota man went from doubting COVID-19 to needing a double lung transplant, coming up in about 10 minutes.
And we've had clouds today, and that will continue tonight. Seasonal temperatures this weekend with above average temperatures next week. All of those details after the break.
You're watching KCAU 9 News with Sophie Erber and meteorologist Marcus Beasley. This is KCAU 9 News at 5.
Thanks for sticking with us on your Friday. It's days like today that really at least make me appreciate when we do see the sun, because a gray day across Siouxland, but temperatures where they should be.
Right. We've had a lot of gray skies here recently, and when the sun does come out, I think it might be possibly this weekend, but even better of a chance next week. It is going to be a bit surprising, I think, just because we've had so many gray skies. 30 degrees today for your high temperature. That's exactly where we should be for this time of year. So a completely average day here throughout Siouxland. 26, well, I shouldn't say completely average, because we did start out above average this morning. 26 is where we began the day. 10 degrees was our normal low temperature. So we did have an average afternoon, though, temperature-wise in Sioux City. The record high, 64 degrees, set back in 2002, and the record low of -17 set back in 1979. Both of those, again, going to stick around another year. Taking a look outside from the KCAU 9 studio, brought to you by the Port Neal Welding Company. We are seeing those gray skies out there, and again, it looks like clouds will continue throughout the overnight period tonight. Temperatures right now in the upper 20s, and with Friday and into the weekend, lower to mid-30s. And that rain chance that I had yesterday, I took it out. It's not looking too impressive right now. Again, it's something we will continue to watch. The models are hinting at maybe something by the end of the week, but again, something to keep in mind.
Very dry forecast. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Marcus. Well, if you're up late this weekend and somehow we escape these clouds, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn will form something called a rare triple conjunction. This rare triple conjunction will be visible in the sky this weekend, and you'll be able to see them all next to each other. They'll be visible Saturday through Monday evening, just above the southwestern horizon before twilight ends. But you might need some binoculars to catch some of the planets. If you miss it, you'll have another chance to view it next month. Pretty cool. Well, a story that will warm hearts of pet owners. A much-loved cat finally returning home just in time to help its owner battle coronavirus. That's coming up in about 7 minutes. But first, you'll hear from a Sioux Falls man who's begging people to take the pandemic seriously as he comes to grip with the possibility of dying from the virus. Next.
We all know somebody who's pretty interesting or has a unique talent. Maybe they just like to help people.
And we want to help share their stories with you on Siouxland Stories.
Send their name and what's special about that person to news@kcautv.com.
Then keep watching as we share those Siouxland stories. A 42-year-old Sioux Falls husband and father of 5 took to Facebook Live to say his goodbyes from his Sanford hospital room.
But this COVID, it ain't no joke, man. This COVID, it my lungs up so bad that I can't live without a machine.
A few months ago, Nathan Foote believed coronavirus wasn't real, but now he says his only hope to survive is a double lung transplant after catching the virus. Due to COVID-19, the demand for that procedure has grown, and there is a shortage of donors. Foote believes he only has a couple months to live at most without this transplant, so he's already preparing to say goodbye to his family. His children range in age from 7 to 17.
My goal is to watch them grow old with me, you know? It ain't gonna happen. It's tough. I want to be there to protect them till I couldn't no more, you know?
A GoFundMe account has since been set up for the Foote family. If it happens for him, a double lung transplant can cost up to $1 million. Well, new research highlighting the importance for heart failure patients to take precautions to prevent the virus. European researchers found patients with acute heart failure have nearly double the risk of dying if they get coronavirus. Well, thousands of animals go missing every week, and some don't ever make it back home. How a very lucky cat made its way home after disappearing for 6 years. Next. A cat that was missing for 6 years is back home tonight just in time to comfort his owner, a nurse who's been battling COVID-19. Mary Wilson shares the tale.
This is Charlie. He's about 10 years old now. They spent 6 years apart, but the bond between Ashley Orions and her cat Charlie is stronger than ever.
We're so happy to be back together, huh, buddy?
Their paths first crossed in 2010.
I found Charlie on my college campus as a little tiny kitten with a broken tail.
Ashley rescued Charlie, and now it's his turn to comfort her as the nurse battles COVID-19.
He's been pretty attached and staying on my lap most of the time.
Charlie disappeared in February of 2015 when Ashley was living near Charleston, South Carolina. She walked the streets, put up flyers, and never stopped looking, even when she moved back to upstate New York.
It's been like thousands of different orange cats that I've asked about, and none of them had the broken tail, so...
You never gave up then?
No.
Perseverance paid off. She spotted an orange tabby on a missing pets Facebook page who just happened to have that unique characteristic.
He is really a little adventurer, so I think that's how he got away on an adventure.
Apparently, the curious cat had been living outside a dentist's office for all those years.
The ladies that worked there fed him, called him Orange Kitty, and they've even said that the patients have asked now where he's been.
But how to get Charlie 900 miles from South Carolina to New York while Ashley was under quarantine?
It was certainly an honor for my company to be involved in this reunion.
That's where Michael Morgan and his pet transport business comes in.
It blew me away that they were actually able to find the cat and get it returned to her.
A positive ending to an especially difficult year.
I just can't even say how excited I am that he's back, and what a great start to 2021. I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Before wrapping up at 5, let's check in first with Tim for what's coming up at 6. Hi, Tim.
Hey, good afternoon, Sophie. As you've reported from earlier today, city leaders continue to take a look at the issue of panhandling here around Sioux City. We're checking in with one local business and how it's being affected by those problems. That's tonight after World News Tonight. Also coming up in just a half an hour, as winter break comes to an end for some Siouxland school students, they're set to head back to school in a hybrid learning model. We'll tell you what that means and check in with one family. Again, that's all coming up in just a half hour at 6.
All right, see you then, Tim. And one quick check on our weekend forecast.
That's right. It looks like tonight we're going to see cold temperatures, a chance of freezing fog with a low of 22. Tomorrow, pretty much the same type of weather that we've experienced here today.
All right, thanks, Marcus, and thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great weekend. If you're joining us at 6, we'll see you then. Good night.